Hello, this is David Walmsley, and I'm really excited about this video because here we're going to be looking at a new plugin which is still under development by the Beaver Builder team, and it works and extends the Beaver Builder plugin. Now, this has been long anticipated and talked about, so before I move on to looking at the back end and some of the examples I've set up with it, I thought I'd better just go over a few bullet points just to make sure that I don't add extra confusion or miss out something important. So what is it? Well, this is an extension or a standalone plugin that works with the Beaver Builder plugin, so you don't need to have the Beaver Builder theme for this to work. Theme Builder is the working title for it at the moment. I'm personally keen on it coming out being called the Beaver Themer, but that's just my personal preference. Who knows what it's actually going to be called in the end. And the plugin, as I mentioned, is under development. So what I'm showing you here is a version that predates the alpha testing release. So I'm going to release this video as soon as it's out and available to all Beaver Builder customers. And I'm going to assume that this will then be available in your Beaver Builder account for downloading and trying. Of course, with this plugin being under development, things can change, but there's enough here to show its true value. What we do know about it is that it's going to go up for sale as a standalone product, so it's not going to be part of the existing Beaver Builder packages, and we don't know what the price is at the moment. There was a bit of a conversation on the Beaver Builder Facebook group about this, and I was one of the people who thought initially that perhaps it might be better if it was included in one of the packages. But having played around with it, and also because I trust the Beaver Builder guys to look after the product first, I can see that it's probably quite a good thing that it has its own income so it can be properly supported and developed. And I understand it's already taken up quite a lot of development time. And that's really the thing with Beaver Builder. It's trusted by web professionals because we can update without fears of things massively breaking. Of course, with all plugins, there may be some minor conflicts, but we know with them, they're going to be minor and they're going to be fixed straight away. So obviously, I'm keen that all of their products go the same way and get enough revenue so they can be looked after properly so we can get on with our jobs. So who can use it? Well, anyone with the Beaver Builder plugin. It's not theme specific, although there are going to be a few limitations. So there's a section within it that allows you to modify headers and footers. And this needs themes where those are hookable areas, so they can be unhooked and replaced with the Beaver Builder editor. And at this point, while I'm testing this one, I know that the Beaver Builder theme, of course, is supported, and Genesis as well. I'm sure they will be making as many themes compatible with it as possible as time goes on. Okay, so what does it do? Well, it allows us to lay out and style a number of things that are usually controlled by a theme using the Beaver Builder page editor. So we can control the look of archive pages, so blog posts or lists of blog posts on those pages, custom post types that we make, or those that come with plugins like WooCommerce, because WooCommerce comes with a custom post type called products, so we can alter the look of those shop pages. It also can be individually applied on the basis of search, tags, author, and date. So all of those archive pages, which are part of WordPress, can also be styled independently, or they can all be given one style and applied to all of these things. It can be added, or the templates can be added to single posts, to single pages, to for or fill pages, and as I mentioned, to headers and footers, and with the limitations on the themes. But these can be done conditionally. So if you wanted a particular header to go on the homepage, you could do that, and then you could set another one up just to show on the blog posts, and those kind of conditions can be set. It also allows us to insert these theme layouts into hookable areas of the theme, and this in the back end, as I'll show you later, is presently called part, which probably is not so obvious in the first place. Maybe I've misunderstood some of this because I've not been given any full instructions on it. I'm just working it out for myself as I go along. But perhaps the best way to understand this, if you already know about the Beaver Tunnels plugin, it's fairly similar to that in the sense that you can put your layouts, your Beaver Builder layouts, into different hookable areas of a theme, but I've not tested it with other themes. So why do I think we should get excited about it? Because I really am excited about this. Well, the first thing is kind of obvious, is that this is completely new for page builders. Nothing out there like this, so it really puts it head and shoulders, in my view, above all of the other page builders out there. It did that anyway for its reliability, but this really does add to it and is going to save a whole heap of time. Now, there is something that is quite similar out there, which I've been looking into and I own myself, which is by WP Types, and it's called Toolset, and particularly their particular modules in there, the types and the views plugin within that, have been doing some of the stuff that this does as well. It's been allowing us to hook up, if you like, custom fields that we'll make to our Beaver Builder templates, and it's done it with other page builders at all. But this really, to me, is so much more cleaner and more flexible, because here we are able to create some custom fields that we can put in our posts and then have the data that is in those show through various Beaver Builder modules. And I think with the tool set, it's really largely limited to just kind of text-based modules. Here we can do some stuff with images, and I'm sure this is going to expand. And what they're calling this is a field connectors is their term that they're using for these connections they can make up with the modules and custom fields. And there's also going to be APIs for developers for hooking in other modules. So as we know, in the Beaver Builder community, we have a lot of people who are making their own third-party modules for this. So they'll be able to take that API and be able to hook up their own modules to, or connect them to fields. And we are also able to add some custom fields to show content in the WordPress loop. So on our archive pages, for example, on blog posts, typically we can easily show the featured image of that blog post on the front, on the archive page, the title, maybe the excerpt. Here we can then hook in some extra content to show. And the whole thing really is it's just quick and easy, user friendly, so much more so than trying to use Toolset, in my opinion anyway. So that's basically covered the main stuff here. Now I'm just going to kind of show you examples, and I might as well start with this one, because the page you've been looking at here, although it's got a load of stuff, I've not gone for prettiness here, but this is a blog post, single post template, or theme rather, being applied to this. So this style has been applied to all blog posts, and I can probably make better sense of this if I show you the back end. But as you can see here, I put in a slideshow, and over here I've also put in, that's the slideshow module, by the way, and this is also the gallery module over here, and I've just thrown in an image here. Now let me go to the edit side of this post so you can see how it's just a standard post. It's not one that I've made on the front end with the page builder with all this styling. It's just like a regular WordPress post, and we can see it here. This is it. And if I scoot down to the bottom, you will see I've added in some custom fields. So here is one for the slider, and here's one for the gallery. And I've also added another one, which I'll show you in a minute, which is going to be used in our archive pages. And that's how it's gone. Now, the thing I ought to cover here is that in order to do this kind of clever stuff, you really need to use a third-party plugin, a free one from the repository. We can see I'm using it here. It says custom fields over here, but it is advanced custom fields. There we go. There's the page on the repository. So in it, it's really highly rated, as you can see, and it allows you to add in all of these different field types completely for free. There is a pro version which adds some extra functionality, but for all the things that I'm doing here, the free version will work well. And I can just show you, if I go over to right, so I'll just show you a view of this, so how I've placed these in. I'm not going to cover this in too much detail, else this video will go on much longer than I want, but I've opened up the tab here. So when we're in custom fields here, we can just, somewhere down the bottom here, we can assign this to where we want them to show. So I've said post type is equal to posts, which is what's been applied on this one. And as you can see, I've added in, and I've named them slider as a gallery type, and gallery, obviously, as a gallery, extra image as an image. And this final one, text one, I've used a WYSIWYG editor. And it's a really simple thing to do. You just place it in your labels, and then you've got them in your blog post to add that content. And this is where the field connectors come in, because this is connecting to our modules via our theme builder. So let me go and take a look, and we'll just stick with this one post for the moment, and I'll go over so you can see the back end. You can already see it's here. This is what gets added when you add in the plugin, and we're really looking at this theme layouts. These are just templates, save rows, save modules, which were already a part of Beaver Builder, just placed here, but theme templates that we're looking at. And if I just go over to another tab where I've got this open, there we are. These are the ones that I've made up at the moment. And let's take a look at the one that made up that post. So I call this one my single post, and as you can see, singular, and it's on single post, and it's applying to all. And if I just go into this now, you'll see what I've set up. So this was really simple to set up. It was just, when we got the options here, I chose single, and as you can see, we've got archive for or part, which I mentioned earlier, which is the Beaver tunnels type thing. Well, that's the way I'm describing it, and headers and footers, as I mentioned before, for structure. So this was on single, and then I defined that it was single post here and that it was on all posts, but I could assign it to individual posts if I wanted. And from there we can go into the edit theme layout, and this will all look fairly familiar because it just looks like the standard Beaver Builder editor. But if you look over here, you'll see I can go through different pages to see how that look, and as you can see, the same style has been applied. And that's it. And let me just show you here. So I put in this slider, and this is where we can see our field connectors here. So when I go in here, the photos I'm choosing is connected to the advanced custom field plugin. So all I needed to do when I've selected that is to go in here and make sure it's the same name as I've got for that gallery field, so it pulls in the right images. But of course, if we didn't want that, I could easily just go back to the normal setup. If I just deleted that, and I could create a gallery in the normal way. So when we see these little plus icons, it means that we can add in some dynamic content. So these are content aware pluses that we can add in. So we can add in certain images or certain short codes, if you like, for WordPress. So here I could just add in those advanced fields. I've probably just broken that now. So what was that? It was slider, wasn't it? Pop that back in. And I can't go through all of these in turn, but it's pretty much the same thing I'm doing here. I've put in a photo module here, and again that had a plus, so I linked it up with advanced custom field over here, and the same thing I did with the gallery, linked it up to custom field, made sure I put the right one in. Again, I didn't need to do that. I could have some static content. And as you can see above here, there's some other things which are sort of default stuff we can get. So this post title here, that's been connected up. I could remove that and put a set one, but obviously I want it to be dynamic, so I'm picking the WordPress post title for this. This is this is obviously the metadata here, which is that post metadata information, which I can set here. And let me just go and look at this one. This again, if I can grab it, is just a photo module, again connected this time to author picture, which is showing my gravatar. So you get, to see what choices are available. So this is really powerful and much more flexible than when I was doing a very similar thing with WP Types toolset and their views plugin. So it's a lot easier to use that. So I think that pretty much covers this, and obviously like anything else, we can just lay them out, set backgrounds as we choose to. In this case, I've got the row background is actually, and I might as well just show you that as well. Let's go to our settings, and as you can see, the background parallax here in this case has been set to the post featured image. So if we were in the editable post there, that would just be this standard post here. So that's pretty much how it works. Let me now just show you an archive page. So I think I need to step back with this. We'll go back one more. So I've also set up an archive page for my posts, but with those posts, we don't have to apply them to all posts. We can apply them to a category. So that's what I've done in this case. I'm just searching for There should be one. That's it. My news archive, because that's what I called my category. We can see it here with categories and news. And if I go back over to the blog here, this is my news setup. So if I go to the blog as it ordinarily stands, I'm using the Beaver Builder theme here. And this is a fairly standard setup for the WordPress blog itself. I can change some things in the customizer, where I position this, whether I have a sidebar. But when we go into this news category where I've applied it, I've applied this look. Now we're familiar with this with Beaver Builder, with using the post module that we can put those into grids or into a sort of a gallery or masonry type thing. But this is different, where before we would be placing those on a page and it would be secondary queries, not part of the WordPress main query. Now here they are. And as you can see, this is, again, I'm using these field connector concept here to add some extra content that we wouldn't normally have here. So I put this image here. This is just silly stuff just to show you. And I've put also some icons here. And I was able to do that. If we go back to the post here, this is what I mentioned before. What I added was this WYSIWYG editor, because when it comes to these things that are showing on the front here, we are a little bit limited to text modules, but I can use the WYSIWYG editor as our choice of our custom field, and I could then use that to add in images. And I will show you how this was done and presented on the front. So if I go back over to our builder and go and look at my news archive, as you see, it's set to archive categories and to news. If I go into the theme layout editor, we can see here. Now this is what's really interesting. Now probably when you're downloading this for yourself, you'll notice that there's both the plugin for Beaver Builder as well as the plugin for the theme builder itself, because this version of Beaver Builder has got some extras added to it to make these connections work. So you usually need the two together, or at least I did. So I'm just going to open this up. So this looks like just a standard post module, but it's got a few extra things here. If we notice over here, it's using the main query, or it could be using a custom query. But here is the interesting thing. So we've got the usual standard stuff. So if I just put this to the default and go for list layout, so a typical blog layout, this is kind of what it's looking. It's still in the main query and it looks like this, and we can do some of our styling from the front end with these options here. And as you can see, we've got some things in for when we're using WooCommerce, which I'll move on to soon. But what I really like is this custom setting here. I'm going to move that back to columns, and okay, so there we are, we're back to that. And if I go in here, this is where we get this flexibility to add this kind of stuff in here. So what we're looking at here is the HTML here, and it doesn't take too much to work out that you can move around some of these diffs to place these in different order if we want to do it manually here. But here's the key thing. As you can see here, what I've done is I've added something called an ACF field, which is the Advanced Custom Field Plugins field, and one that I've labeled up as text. And if you were observant over here, you'll probably notice that this was called text. That was the name for that custom field. So using a ACF shortcode, and there's documentation over there, I was able to insert this custom field inside of the loop over here. So this is really powerful stuff. And of course we can go over to this CSS tab here and do some live styling. So I changed text transform over here onto the header into uppercase, and we can do what we like. Obviously we can do something more exciting than what I've just shown you there. So that's how that works. I think that's pretty much covering all of the advanced stuff. Something I should just mention is that custom fields, if you're not already aware, are a part of WordPress anyway. So here we are back in my editor for that post, and as you can see here, custom fields is turned on. So we can add our own if we like. We give it a name and then we give it some value. This is what's actually going to be pushed forward to the front end, whatever the value is here. And then we need to make sure that when we are looking into this, let's have a look don't know if I can find a module where I can show that. Yes, maybe we'll look at this one where it says news. If I go and look at what is available here, as I say, this is all context aware, so you have to pick the right thing. So we can see we got the option of custom field, and if I went there, it says key. So I would need to place in the name here, and then it would output the value of whatever I placed in that WordPress custom field. So that's kind of how that works. Alrighty, so I think I'm pretty much coming to a close on what I can show you here. I wanted to just show you some of the advanced modules. I'm sure the Beaver Builder team will give you a video that will take you through some of the basic settings at the back. Let me, actually before I move on, I will just take us back to the dashboard and we'll have a look. Now, when you add in new, it's a fairly simple thing. I'll just add new here. You just need to give it a title and decide that you're going to be using the theme layout, and then you're into any of the options that we've just seen. I'm just going to go back to the theme layout here. So when it comes to being able to put things within the loop there, we can do exactly the same with our own custom post types. So another thing that I'm employing here, and I'll just quickly show you that on this page, I also created my own custom post type, which was called books. And here we are. And what I've done on this one is I've got a different post layout for my books custom post type. And here, as you can see, I've laid out things differently. So this is literally just the standard featured image, which I've decided to place over to the left. This is just the usual description placed over to the right. This is static content. This is the post title linked up there using a header module and some more static content. And there I've added in a custom image field for here. So we can do that. And again, here's a bit of a recommendation if you want a plugin that helps you to do that. This is one that I've used before, which is Custom Post Types UI. And this really easily allows you to create your own custom post types, which I've done with books over here. And let me also show you my shop here. And I've done nothing particularly special with this, but of course, like before, I could add in my own custom fields. Let me just go into one of these individual ones. Now, there's a little bug at the moment, which is probably be fixed before you even see this, but this should be matching up with this. But what I've done here, like on my post here, I've taken the column and I've added in the featured image for this post or product by Woo, and used it as a background over here. And here, although this is part of what WooCommerce does, I was able to actually put this in a text module over here using one of the WooCommerce's shortcodes. So as with ACF and Beaver Builder, they have their own shortcodes, so we can output and place our content where we like. So that's another thing to look out for. Okay, so I think I've covered the main things there. Let me just go and pop over and quickly cover the headers. There's not much to say on this one. I've applied these to single posts, so you're actually looking at custom header, but I styled it very similar to the main header, so you probably wouldn't have noticed it. But yeah, when we come into those choices, we select the header on the top there, and then we can decide, which is quite nice, whether to have a sticky effect with a shrink effect. It doesn't have the full effects at the moment that the Beaver Builder theme would have, but it does have this, so we can apply that. And we can apply these to whatever types of pages that we like and select them individually if it's single post. And as you can see here, because this is aware of the custom post types that I have, it's already, because I've got WooCommerce in there, it's added in those products, so I could apply this to a single product or a product archive. And because I've made my own books custom post type, I can apply that to a single book or to the archive itself or any of those categories. Right, so that's headers and footers. I can just show you in here, but this may not come as any surprise to you if you see me do other videos on replacement headers and footers, and that's effectively what it is. It's using the menu module here via navigation, and here I'm just replacing this with a static photo with a link to the home page, so that's always clickable. And that's pretty much all I can say on that. And quickly, I'll just take a look at the thing that's called part, which threw me. I'm not sure if I'm explaining this well, but we'll go and take a look. Let's go over to our theme layouts, my parts. So here we are, applied to single post. So here, what we can do is we can apply a part. So it's whatever layout we are going to create with this, and we can decide huckable areas of the theme. So page open and close before or after the header, and all of these places we can assign, and we can assign them to certain conditions that we've set here, whether they're going to be on just a particular category like we did before with the post. So I could just decide that all my categories that had news under it would show this extra content before the post. So really flexible. I think that's about all I can cover. What I'd like to do is to go over some of these perhaps with some more solid examples in the future, but I'll look to you to see if you can bear any more of these videos from me and tell me what you think you might like me to cover in more depth. But thanks so much for listening. I hope you're as excited as I am by this. This is just absolutely perfect for a job that's coming up where I thought I was going to have to use Toolset, and this is going to be so much more user friendly to the end user and more of a pleasure to work with. Okay, that's me done. Thanks very much. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.